Hello everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel. This is Frank in Action, and in this video I will be introducing Callan Method to students or for those members of English learners who are interested to do Callan lesson. So Callan Method lesson is a very popular way of learning a language. So Callan Method is not only used for learning English, but also used in Spanish. And I hope in the future it will be available to other languages. We'll be talking about Callan Method and explaining this to our students. What is Callan Method? Perhaps they are still students or English learners who are still having second thought if they're gonna do the Callan Method. So before, I already talked to you, I already told on the previous video that I will be having Callan Method training. So perhaps it would be better that we could be able to have a short, overview of what is Callan Method. How does it benefit to students or learners if they wanted to learn or they are going to continue or proceed to the Callan Method learning. So Callan Method lesson is actually birthed in London over 52 or 55 years ago, and the English conversation method is called the Callan Method, and it has been utilized all over the world. Callan Method lesson is not only utilized for English learning, it is also utilized for Spanish learning method, and this is really an amazing method. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk about how does Callan lesson work. Callan Method is a different and unique learning method in order to accelerate your learning speed and understanding of the English pattern. So students should reply smoothly and rapidly from teachers' rapid questions. So there are some instances that, teachers, if you select a teacher to teach or to learn with you using the Callan Method, there are some teachers that are actually speaking slow for you or rapidly. The reason of that is that those teachers are still assessing you of how can we push you to accelerate or to make your pacing a little bit faster. So one of the reasons why we're doing that it's because we're actually trying to eliminate the chance of translating those questions and answering from those questions in your own language. So the reason why we have to answer and we also ask the questions with that pacing, it's because we want you to avoid translating those questions and you answering in your own language. So that's basically the main reasons why we're doing that. So again, as what I've said, students reply smoothly and rapidly from teachers' rapid questions. So this is actually a repetitive method including rapid questions, rapid replies, and supported replies. So of course, if you have some mistakes, we support you right away. We correct you right away. So all questions are good for practicing grammar and vocabulary when you reply, as they are focused on choosing the correct grammar and vocabulary. Now, for teachers, for example, teachers rephrase students' mistakes by answering together. So in this situation, students always need to be careful what teachers say and by replying rapidly with teachers' support. Students don't have any time to translate their mother tongue. That's the reason why we have to answer it rapid with that pacing, that fast pace. Students unconsciously reply in English and their brain will be formed as an English brain. That's the main objective. Alright, so now, why study with the Callan method. Why we have to do that? Why choosing this kind of method in learning the language? So first is different from many other teaching methods because the emphasis in this one is on revision. The material you learn in one lesson is repeated in the following lesson so that you won't forget it. Through constant practice and revision, you improve your pronunciation and fluency at the same time. So you might be noticing that there are some students that are given higher stages after their level check. If you are not familiar with the words being introduced from stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you are already given to stage 6, there might be some, what do you call this one, difficulties for you to understand the question. It's because those questions are repeated many times, supposed to be in the earlier stages. So when the teacher asks you the questions again with those words, the teachers will not give you the explanation already because it is being assumed that you already understand the word because you are already in the higher stages. So in my own opinion, even if you are already a good speaker and you just want to supplement yourselves with new vocabularies and checking if you could understand the vocabulary with that pace in Callan method, it would be better for you to have a lower stage level check result. And that's my opinion. And it has been a very effective way for you to review also what level really are you in English. So I understand there are some tests that we take, like for example TOEIC, some of those what do you call this one, internationally recognized examination or assessment on your English level. But for me, in my own opinion, Callan method is another supplement for you to continuously review your real stage, your real level of your English speaking skill. All right, so if you have any questions about that one, please make sure to comment that in the comment section so that I could be able to address that one in our next video. Okay, so the second point of why study with the Callan method is that Callan method is carefully designed so that you practice the most important words and grammar first. So the words that are being introduced to you are practical English vocabularies that are very useful in everyday English conversation. And also the pattern, the grammar point, focus, and pattern are being introduced to you, what do you call this one? Orderly. So even if you're a beginner, you will soon be able to hold a conversation in English. Yes. And as you progress through the stages, we introduce more complex vocabulary and grammar, right? So as what I've said, in the lower stages, you are given this grammar point, pattern, especially in stage 3 and 4. You will notice, if you already have an experience of the Callan method, you will notice that at stage 1 and 2, you will relax, you are answering questions, you're just focusing on understanding what the teacher is telling you or asking you. But on the 3rd and 4th, it will become a little bit, difficult because you are focusing on the grammar point. It's because the main objective of this partition from stage 3 to 4 is really to introduce you to the grammar. That's the elementary stage of the Callan method. And when we say elementary, it's basic. So when you say basic, it means understanding the grammar point, the grammar pattern, etc. Okay? So the third one is Callan method improves your speaking and listening skills. and become a more confident communicator. That's the main objective. The lessons are taught completely in English, which teaches you to think and speak in English without pausing to translate. So as what I've said, the pacing is rapid, meaning rapidly delivered to you, the question, and you are also being forced to answer rapidly so that you will not have a time to pause to translate those questions and translate your answers in your own language. So in Callan Method also, the teacher speaks quickly and you will learn to understand English as it is spoken naturally. Because of the speed of the lessons, you won't have any time to think in your own language or worry about using the correct grammar. So instead, you learn to speak as a reflex already, like you did when learning your own language as a child. All right, so what do you call this one? There are different ways on how we are going to learn the language. First is to acquire this learning this language or to learn this language. So technically, Callan Method is somehow a one-way lesson. So the teacher should follow and the student should follow the protocol, the method itself. So we don't have time to, what do you call this one? The student cannot ask the question. We just continue the method, the process. So it's technically an acquiring way of learning the language. We acquire, we copy the intonation, we copy the pronunciation of your teacher because that's what you learn, that's what you always hear during the lesson. So it is very important also that you have to be mindful of the learning process, how you being exposed through the Callan Method. So in my own opinion, it would be better for you to really choose a teacher that really speaks fast if you can do it. And if you're more comfortable with low pacing than slow pacing, then I could understand that one. But as what I've said, the more you ask your student to, or you challenge yourself to speak and listen English in a rapid pacing, it would be better, right? So next is Callan Method also. In the Callan Method, the teacher corrects every mistake you make as soon as you make it. So the teacher corrects by imitation, repeating your error, then giving the correct version for you to repeat. And you will learn from this correction and make rapid progress. So every time you made a mistake, don't be shocked or don't be surprised that, oh, the teacher always correct my mistakes. No, it's just the method, okay? It's just the process of learning the language through Callan Method. So every time you have a mistake, the student will be corrected right away. The teacher will address that right away. So the pattern for that is not your mistake, correct phrasing or correct pattern. So you have to copy the correct pattern. So the teacher will just acknowledge your mistake and then correct it right away. So once you repeat the teacher saying, you're just going to repeat the correct pattern or the correct word to use in that question. All right, so another one for the Callan Method, the classes are lively. That's something that is for sure lively and full of action. Of course, it's very fast, so it must be very interesting and lively. So I'm sure that you will not get bored if you are going to learn the language through the Callan Method. And of course, you will enjoy every hour you study or every 25 minutes you study in your school using the Callan Method. Alright, so you will be able to see also your progress every day, every time you finish your lesson, because the teacher will actively give you the report by chatting, or after the lesson you will see the report after less than 5 minutes perhaps. Alright, so now as a student, let's understand what the teacher does in Callan Method. Okay, so the teacher speaks constantly throughout the lesson. You will notice that from the beginning, the teacher will be talking, the teacher will be explaining, the teacher will be asking the question, and the teacher will also answer the question. So technically, the teacher asks questions from the start until the end. Alright, so please take note also that teachers also ask the questions from a book. So all those questions are arranged, and teachers cannot, what I call this one, jumble or mix the questions from stage 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, like that. So it is orderly pattern to address the correct progress for the student's assessment. Next is each question practices a particular word, expression, or piece of grammar. So the teacher asks the question twice in case you didn't understand it the first time, and that's the pattern, 2 questions, and then that's the time you answer the question. The teacher prompts the answer by giving you the first 2 or 3 words. This helps you to start speaking or answering the question. There are also some cases that personally I chose to give the first 3 syllables of the sentence. You know, I am 3 words advanced, or sometimes 3 syllables advanced. Depends on the student's speed. Okay? This helps you to start speaking immediately even if you don't know the answer. It also stops you from translating and thinking about vocabulary or grammar. Alright, so common question is, what do you do in Callan Method as a student? Alright, so here, when the teacher prompts you to answer a question, try to answer it in full and use the same words and grammar structure as the question. For example, are you speaking Japanese? Are you speaking Japanese? The teacher or the student should answer, no, I'm not speaking Japanese, I'm speaking English. So as you notice, I'm using are you speaking. So make sure you're going to use the same tenses. Okay? With that, as you notice, I'm answering with a negative answer. So negative followed by a positive. That's the pattern. So you have to address the no first, no, then a negative pattern. After that, you correct by using the positive pattern. So this way, we get the chance to practice positive and negative form as well as opposites also. Right? So it's like one question and you are already practicing 2 patterns, negative and the positive answering patterns. Okay? So now we are going to we're going to talk about the process of the Callan Method lesson. So of course, during the lesson, students cannot look at a textbook for 25 minutes, 50 minutes, like that. So first is you have to learn new sentences and explanations by listening. Right? So the reason why you are not allowed to open your book, it's because we are actually assessing, we're actually helping you to learn new sentences and explanations by just listening. You know. Next is to review what was learned last time, 70% of lesson time. This time, let me answer. Okay, let me answer the common question. What kind of student should take the lesson? What kind of people should take the lesson? You might be asking, or you might be having a second thought, like, is it okay to have 0 English vocabulary to start learning the Callan Method? Is it okay to... I think Callan Method is only good for students who have good vocabularies or have a good background of the English studies. Well, the answer is, it is actually okay. It's completely okay. Completely new beginners are welcome to do Callan Method. So, just a recap, I know you already have some experience of the Callan Method and others might not have. So there are actually 12 stages in the Callan method, and all of them start at stage 1. For stage 1, it's fundamental English, so completely new beginners can also try it. Alright? For stage 12, it's advanced English, so any level can apply to the Callan method. So it's actually a very brilliant system, a very nice method, nice pattern, nice and orderly patterned way of learning the language, especially in English, because everyone can actually try the Callan method. The Callan method is good for those who are not confident with English, although they have studied English very seriously. There are some students who actually exhaust their frustration about the English language because they have been learning for 6 months, they have been learning for 12 months already, and they cannot feel the progress that they want to have, their goal in that particular studies. So English conversation cannot be trained by freedom conversation. Okay, so Callan method is not the free conversational lesson, but it's for speaking enhancement lesson. Okay, it's difficult to learn many things by talking freely based on the grammar skills that you have. So when you speak in Callan lessons, you will automatically use new vocabulary and structure of English, so you can learn more than other lessons and practical English. So as what I've said, Callan method is a system. It's a orderly, systematic method for you to learn the English language. You might not able to have a free conversation during the lesson, but it is a guarantee that all throughout the lesson it has been calculated, it has been calibrated, it has been incorporated with a proper deliberation of your learning process. So from stage 1, you are actually learning already until stage 12. Just make sure that you are not reading the book during the lesson. So there, I saw, or I also witnessed some of the students that are actually doing that. So I really discourage that. You gotta do it because again, Callan method is a what I call this one, assessing method on your English. As what I've said, there are some students that are already or have been learning English, and they still have this frustration of why they feel that they are not still, progressing in their English studies. So again, that's what I've said, don't cheat. Callan method improves 5 parts which most English learners are not good at. First is the proper expressions. In actual conversations, you can only reply yes or no, but you need to reply in full sentences in a Callan method lesson. So this will help you in the Callan method, like in a free talking. If I ask you, do you like strawberry, you can just answer yes or no, right? That's the real conversation. But in the Callan method lesson, you are forced to deliver your answer in the correct grammar structure. So Callan method address the importance, the essential element of learning the language, and that's consistency of delivering your answers in a complete sentence. So first, the proper expressions. Second is the proper usage of articles. So it's actually difficult for English learners to use proper articles, and this namely the, or the definite and indefinite articles. But by using the Callan method, you will be able to expose yourself in practicing and again and again, and you can use them smoothly and without thinking. The third one is the proper usage of English tense. So in English conversation, Distinguishing tense is an essential skill, right? In order to use tenses properly and without confusion, you can learn them by repeating the Callan method. So there are also some instances like Teacher Frank, I think I'm already very exhausted with the stage 8 already. Is it okay for me to go back, do the full stage revision in stage 2 until stage 8? You can actually do that. That's a very good way for you to assess yourself if you are actually able to learn. Try to compare yourself when you first doing the stage 2 lesson and you do it again after doing stage 8. You will see the big difference. And that's how I actually motivate my students. Like if they feel that they are not already progressing, I also explain to them that the difficulty level that they're experiencing during this time when they are already in that particular stage or higher stage is actually normal. You feel the difficulties because the stage is also increasing, and that means the Callan method works on you. It means that you are actually in the correct method of learning the language. As what I've said, Callan method is well calibrated, systematic method, and each step that you do or each stage that you get or you finish is another challenge for you to overcome. Okay, the fourth one is pronunciation. So pronunciation such as pronouncing the L and R, S and the TH sounds, the B and the V sounds. Callan method allows you to practice pronunciation, especially in the areas English learners are not good at. Alright, the fifth one is listening to native speakers. Okay, you can train your practical listening skills such as I'm and your, which are commonly used by native speakers. So I'm not a native speaker, but I know how to pronounce the contraction of I am and you are. I'm your, right? So it's actually a very good method because these features, like for example, I'm a Filipino, is a big evidence that Callan method works because I myself for 7 years also learning the Callan method by teaching the Callan method lesson. So I hope guys you get value to this orientation for students, and if you are a teacher, I hope you get value of the elements that I shared here in this video, in this first episode of the Callan method. I'm supposed to go directly to the Callan training, but I think we really have to understand the core foundation of learning the Callan method, why Callan method exists, how Callan method helps our students, how students should see Callan method, and how teachers deliver Callan method to our students. So I hope guys you get value to those elements and those topics that I shared to you in this video. And again, if you're not yet subscribed, make sure to click the subscribe button and also the ring bell button so you'll be notified in my next videos. If you have any questions, please make sure to comment in the comment section, and I will make sure to reply that one within the day. Or if not, it means I will be putting that one in my next episodes of the Callan method training. So again, thank you so much. This is Frank again. See you in my next videos. Bye bye.